Friends, a very good afternoon, and I'll be completing this in 10 minutes or less than that. I'll be sticking to the main discussion points which were given to all of us, and these are the points that you see here: the challenges for e-governance architecture, need for standards, architectural frameworks, and finally recommendations. So I start with the first one, challenges for e-governance architecture. I'm going to interpret the e-governance architecture in a very simple way. On one hand, there are the e-governance applications. I would call it the development phase or the build time phase. Once the applications are developed and built by the different departments and they go online into production, then come the three major aspects of the data center where they are hosted, of the SWAN which carries them to the end user, and finally to the citizen service centers which can take different forms. And now since all these different entities are operating more or less in different types of ways in different states, it is extremely important to remember the final outcome, because from a citizen perspective, he is going to expect e-governance as a service, much in the same way as your power utilities or water supply or something like that. So if we have to get into that mode of e-governance as a service, then there are definitely challenges of interoperability. And mind you, interoperability is not just only this is something different. This is more related to not the application one. So interoperability is, not only in a technical way, but it will cover, it has to take into account social, political, and organization factors. And you will see that, given an analogy here with the water supply distribution and what it takes to, have all these things run in synchronization. And that's where there is a need for standards and interoperability. One has to understand that standards evolve from the best practices, and best practices themselves evolve, as you will see in some of the areas later on. So, why to, do things, reinvent the wheel? Let us leapfrog the learning curve. Let us not try and improve the quality of service by ourselves, because there are industry standards and these are time and tested. And let us look at manufacturing. We have an excellent example of manufacturing of a country which has successfully pursued ISO standards for a decade, and that has really helped them to take on the entire world in manufacturing. So similarly, and they are riding on the back of the standards initiatives which they have implemented. And if you see the level of commitment which is there and the respect for standards which is there, it is at the highest levels of authority in the government in China. And you can see here very clearly that the important element of the country's economic and technical policy is adoption of internal technical standards. And that is where we can learn, as an analogy from manufacturing into the e-governance service that we are providing, that there are certain standards in IT. Most of my fellow panelists have focused on the build time standards or the development standards as in the service-oriented architectures that one should keep in mind when developing the applications. I'm going to focus more on the two standards that are really required when it comes to supporting these large infrastructures that we are creating, we are in the process of creating in the country. And these two standards, I'm sure all of you know them. One is related to IT service management, and the other is related to information security management systems. I don't want to go into details of all this, but what I want you to take away from this slide is there are a lot of controls and elements of best practice here, and it is extremely important to ensure that when we think of this standard, we should not think in terms of only a data center or a SWAN or a CSC. We have to think of these standards as end-to-end. Similarly, when we talk of service management standards, we should not think of them in silos of a SDC or a SWAN, because ultimately these are service management standards. It is all about providing service to the citizens. And as I said, that standards are based on best practices, and best practices themselves change. And as you can see here, there is a new standard which has come up in the month of May 2007, and that is the ITL version 3. And it really gives us all an idea about how to do it, because the previous ITL standard was more of descriptive. It was not prescriptive. So we can rely on these standards for service management and the BS 7799 kind of standards for information security management system. That brings us to the architectural framework aspect of it. And in the architectural framework aspect, when it comes to the build time phase, I'm sure all of you are aware of this. It's a service-oriented architecture which has to be kept in mind. Whereas when you come to the operational stage, or when you come to the time when these applications have been deployed and these are giving services to the citizens, you have to ensure that there is a unified service model in terms of service delivery, in terms of service support, in terms of ensuring that the entire infrastructure is managed and secured in a professional way. IT governance issues are taken care of. The unified service model should provide a view, a complete 360 degrees view into technology, assets, peoples, processes, everything. And also, this should be based on standards which I talked of and best practices which I talked of, like the ITIL and BS 7799. Having said that, I have a last slide on recommendations just to summarize the key takeaways. Build time